Um, so when we started thinking about historically, the first ever computer programmer or, they'll create the first algorithm was a woman, right? Named Ada Lovelace. And when we think about now up into today's format, um, somehow women were seeming to disappear from the scene, even though it was a woman to create the first algorithm. That says a lot, right?
Mm.
So I was grateful when Eva and Josh actually got together, right? It showed what the true benefit of sponsorship was when you had a male advocating just as hard, saying, "Hey, where are the women? It's about
Yeah.
time that we start to be able to kind of bring them forward because they do exist, right?" So when Eva actually sent out the call, I graciously was like, "Hey, I'm down for the cause," because it takes us to be able to band together to show the new generation what can exist beyond what has existed over the years.
Yeah, for that context, it was so good to see actually a male speaking up about this because I saw that Josh was the first person to talk about it, and then everyone started talking, and then we saw that there is going to be a separate lineup for women. That was so good to see. So, as a woman, what do you feel like the visibility and representation mean to you in tech spaces?
Um, I think it's a different kind of conversation when you start to think about people like myself, right? I think because of the work that was done, latter years, now we can have a thing called visibility. I think women have already been those anchors in the background, and we have to be able to kind of see it like differently, right? We just was kind of labeled and classified differently. So when I speak not just for myself, right? And a lot of times I am a millennial, so they say you think out of the box, or you guys are like have this influencer content, but the truth of the matter is just being able to kind of highlight some key moments for the new generation and let them know, hey, you don't have to be silent to be powerful, right? And being able to show them how to move in their solitude and conviction is one thing that I'm keen about, right? Because somebody have to, if they don't know how to speak up for themselves, not always somebody's going to speak up for you. It just so happened in this particular case, Josh did, and he was a person of great power.
So as you talk about the representation and as you feel missed out in most of the spaces, overlooked kind of thing. So if someone else feels like that in tech spaces, for example, a woman feels like he is not taken seriously in tech spaces, and not everyone is interested in listening to her, then what do you recommend her doing? Because this also puts you in a spot where do you think that am I not enough for this space? Am I the problem here? So what do you kind of suggest to people to do in such situations?
Yeah, the truth is they have to do the mirror work, right? Me personally, I've never felt that particular way. So I tell people all the time, do the mirror work, introduce yourself to yourself on a daily basis. And when you can do that, you can eradicate things like imposter syndrome. And you have to understand the first person that you have to belong and understand that will see your power beyond anybody is yourself. I think a lot of times that's the one thing we as women, we silence ourselves because we're afraid to hear our own voice, right? But
Yeah.
if you think about that, if you're afraid to listen to your voice, why would anybody else be so keen to be able to listen to it? So I'm strong in conviction and doing things on a different realm and level to be able to kind of feed myself so that when I walk out, I'm not just representing myself, I'm representing us as a whole. But I've spoken to even other women, some of the things that they've experienced, I've never experienced. And I think it just has something to do with the way I've actually approached this situation or the way I've seen myself.
Okay, that's good to hear that you never feel that way. Actually, most of the people do feel because when someone tells you that like you're not taken seriously, you started kind of looking the flaws into you. Am I not enough, or am I not good enough for this space? What is the problem? So the special first doubt that goes is into yourself that I'm not enough. Okay. So let's talk about your video that you did for Try Hack Me. It was about AI security. And we all know that with the rise of AI, everyone is saying that AI is going to take my job. So, what are your thoughts about it? What kind of jobs do you think will be replaced by AI? And if AI is creating any opportunities in the tech industry?
I think AI will I mean, not take people jobs, but it actually make processes a little bit more effective and efficient. So I created a framework called TEST that actually is touch, execute, store, and trust. It actually was just written about in the AI cybersecurity magazine. And then I actually just did a executive cybersecurity podcast talking about the framework specifically. And I'll actually be speaking at the SANS AI Security Summit in relation to it as well. And the truth of the matter is, I don't believe humans will actually be pulled out of the space. We're going to be that core piece of validation that AI cannot conform, and I think it's actually going to expose some of the things that people have been hiding behind. Some people didn't have the skill sets needed to be able to kind of do jobs effectively or efficiencies, and AI is going to move at a rapid speed to be able to kind of get data a little bit more parsed. But I don't think it's going to actually take people jobs. I think it will make processes a little bit more formalized and a little bit more pristine, to be honest. But the people component of it is still needed from a validation perspective.
So when you say that AI is gonna make the process easy, what do you exactly mean by that? For a beginner who wants to get his first job, how AI is going to make the process easy for him?
Okay. So if you think about it like this, sometimes you can go into an organization, whether it's mom and pop shop or a Fortune 100 company, and they may give you their process. There's always process gaps that lie because the human eye is not able to close those gaps just as quick. AI will be there to be able to kind of help blend. Like, hey, it's a stopgap right here, right? Be able to create help because it's a behavioral tool and it's actually analyzing your environment. It'll be able to kind of help us figure out those gaps quicker so that we can have more pristine data. And then the person that's an analyst, let's say that's hypothetically the person that's an analyst, it will make their jobs a little bit more seamless. Versus right now, sometimes you just feel like they don't have enough data, and they don't have enough data because there's so many gaps within a system not producing that data.
Okay, so you have been in this industry, the security industry, for almost 2 decades, and of course, with the evolving of tech and AI, everything, m- a lot of the things, I would say almost all of the things have changed and how the things work and how the processes work. So if you say that something in the industry is same as it was 2 decades ago, if there is something like that, and if there is something like that, then what is it?
There is a lot of things like that. A lot of companies right now and today still use systems called COBOL. COBOL was actually a system that was created by a woman, right, named Grace Hopper. But when we hear terms like legacy systems, a lot of governmental systems still use legacy systems, right? So they're not in a situation where they can use a lot of the robust technology that's happened in today's forefront because it does not mix with the technology that they have preserved within their location. So just being able to understand a core context of what you're dealing with, and on a tech from a technological lens is going to be the key. Whether you're a new emerging person coming into the field, understanding the historical context is going to get you a long way.
Okay, that's good. So, yeah, of course, you have the experience of 2 decades. So, if you can go back to your younger self who is just starting out, about to get her first job, what is the one piece of advice you would give to her, or what is the one thing that you would do differently as compared to what you did?
Me personally, well, the advice I would give you is actually be yourself. And that takes you time spending time with yourself. Um, Fortunately for me, I was always by myself. I was one of those kids. I was a little procurious, right? So like I would eat popcorn and stare at my grandmother's grandfather clocks because I was more interested in how it was actually working. So I tell people all the time, I wouldn't change anything about my journey. When you look fast forward today, hey, I just became one of the top 100 CISOs in North
Yeah,
America. So it
congratulations for that.
thank you. And in that room, all of us did not come. And I'll never forget when I was in that room, I was the only black woman, right? And not saying I was going to be the only black woman that was top 100. I was the only one in the room, right? So
Yeah.
like I thought that was really interesting. And then I dress a particular way. I wear very expensive clothing, right? And I never forget somebody walked up and they said, "Do you get your clothes?" No, I don't. Not to be offensive. Do you get your clothes like from consignment shop?" And I said, "No, I got this from Rodeo Drive." Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I got this from Rodeo Drive at Versace and Rodeo Drive, and just like even nothing. I'm unfazed by all of it. I think sometimes you gotta take things with a grain of salt. I'll tell a person that's just getting in the field, be yourself, know yourself, and at the end of the day, when a doubt erases itself, you have to be able to kind of talk to your higher being. I always say faith is everything, and problems are nothing. You have to think things in a micro lens and just understand that even micro progressions can create macro impact at the end of the day. Sometimes you can't eat an elephant whole, digest the small chunks to get where you desire to be.
Okay, speaking of your younger self, recently your book went live that is Corpus aimed at kids, and what you did on the cover was really interesting. You talk about the representation being the only woman, a black woman in the room. You put a story of four black kids that was very interesting to see. Tell us a little about that book. What is that? What was the idea behind that? And how did you actually wrote that book?
Well, so I was like, I didn't know I had a major surgery, and everything that could go wrong with the surgery did. So I didn't know if I was really going to make it. To be honest, I had start regurgitating on my own bowel. They had to stick tubes down my nose, and I never to be able to get to my stomach. And I'll never forget. I just looked at my wife and I said, "Go get my laptop." I don't have kids, and but I do have a host of nieces and nephews. And when I think about things that happened, like when cybersecurity became the big buzzword, nobody thought about, hey, we have bullies inside of school already. Now they're going to online. Cyber bullies are going to emerge. And I wish I was, keen and adaptable enough to be able to kind of think about that then. It was too late. So when it was happening, I wanted to be able to kind of make sure I can teach kids what the ethics behind it. No kid knows how to spot out a deep fake. They don't know when an application is asking them for too much information. So I just began to write the book. To be honest, I believe you're not really sick until you believe you're sick. And that's how I got myself through it. Like, literally, I did the illustrations and everything from my hospital bed.
Did you got any of your nieces and nephews to read that book? What was their feedback on this?
No, I didn't because 'cause they're too old.
Right.
So my youngest niece right now is 18, okay? So from my sister's side, my brother may have, but I'm like so, like, when I was thinking about this, I used to be a CIO in K through 12 schools. So I've been able to kinda look at some of the things that have worked in those industries or in those segments, and I was like, "Hey, either you're gonna be the change you desire to see or you're gonna complain about it." So I just figured I was following whatever my higher power told me to do, and look up now it's sold 45,000 copies, and it's sold globally, and it's in stores like Walmart, Barnes& and Noble, and everywhere else, and it just won a Literary Titan Award, and it was not something that, I set out to do, and that I was really just trying to think about what would I leave behind if this was my last time.
Did you design the cover yourself? Because that is very interesting cover.
Yeah, I did. And then I used so I had cuz I'm a artist, but I'm not an artist, right? So like when I was in high school, I used to do oil, pastel and charcoal paintings. I haven't done that in a long time. And when I first went to school, I actually studied computer animation, right? But then it back then it took too long to do a frame. And I'm like, I take 600 strokes for her to wave. I'm not doing this.
Yes.
So I kind of left it alone, but so then what I did was I actually went to a site after I created my graphics. I went to a site and had the woman put the EPUB together. I'm trying to think. I can't think of the name of the site, but I paid like $150 and she kind of put everything together for me. And she was like, "This is," and she said the same thing. She said, "I love this cover," and I was like, "Thank you." Right, but it was. I really wasn't thinking, to be honest. Like I just was like it's like something was controlling me and I was listening to it.
Your book comes in soft copy or hard copy as well. I guess it comes in hard
It
copy.
comes in both. It comes in hard copy, and you can also get it as a ebook. Um, right now it's actually we're working on the second series. So it's a series. It'll be 6 books in total. The next book is coming out is in relation to social engineering, where he introduces a new student named Zara. So I'm excited about that. But the whole point is to be able to kind of show diversification. Even in one book series, you're going to see me have a neurodivergent student that's in a wheelchair, right? And it's being able to show everybody they have a place in technology. And I'm just doing it through inclusion, through storytelling. Yeah.
Okay, that will be so interesting to read if someone reads from the book one and all the way to book six. So
Yeah.
let's get back to the cybersecurity career thing.
Okay.
Now, nowadays, I see all of the job descriptions that are supposed to be for entry level, and I saw this job description which says that in requirement section it says any entry level certification CC or CISSP because CISSP is
That
listed.
is not entry level.
Yeah, it is not an entry level. It is listed in the jobs that are saying that it is entry level job, and with all those big details, have the knowledge of AI and all these things. So, if someone is done learning in the cybersecurity field, has built the portfolio, and now want to get a job, how to get a job with these job descriptions? I don't get
Well,
it.
I'm going to tell you this. The truth of the matter is, it has a lot to do with we have newer recruiters that really don't even understand the jobs that they're actually looking for, right? And I'll never forget one time I was actually looking for a position, and it was asking for security plus, right? Security plus, and let's say. Let's say hypothetically, you got something that's higher than security plus, and they was like, "Oh, that's not good enough," and you're like, "What? This is higher." So that's just like you saying if I got a CISSP and you're saying you need me to have a CC, a CC foundational cert, and you have the expert level cert, they wouldn't even give me the interview because I didn't have the. So the thing is, they have to really understand what they're looking for, and I think it has something to do with. Unfortunately, we have a new generation of recruiters out, and a lot of them are not doing their due diligence and their due care, understanding not only the concept of the job, but the business and what the business is actually looking for and translating that so that people can be so much they're asking for unrealistic stuff. And that's why the jobs are not getting filled. I tell people all the time, it's not a talent shortage. It's a it's a communication shortage, right? People are not really understanding what they're looking for, and they're asking for outrageous things. We know you need 5 years of experience before you can even sit. I mean, to be able to become a CCIS, a CISSP. So for me to look at a person that just came out of school and say, "Hey, what about the CISSP?" I wouldn't even. I would run because I wouldn't want to be at that company. I'm like, okay, so they unrealistic.
Yeah, that is very unrealistic. So I was having this talk with Gianna, who created the D2 walkthrough. She said
Yeah.
that companies don't know what they want, and because they don't know what they want, people can't get the job. So what is the solution for that in your vision?
So what I actually did a study, and I took I had a group of people that were all cybersecurity people. Then I had another group of people that was like it was like a neuroscientist, a receptionist. Only one person that had a cybersecurity certification. What if I told you the people that came from different industries with no cybersecurity, not cybersecurity as a skill set, actually boost their production by 70% because they've seen it from a different lens? I think we have to be willing to be able to look at different characteristics and skills from people coming from different industries to see how they can benefit us differently. Because sometimes people are myopic in viewpoint, and sometimes I'm gonna be honest, security people not always that secure. Okay. Sometimes they try to put too much security within the infrastructure. Then now it deals with things like availability, and if it's not available, you've already failed the CIA triad, right? So you have to really really kind of be keen. But I would actually really, and you interviewing the company too, ask the hard questions. If you able to get, or if you're talking to the recruiter, make sure be thorough. Go look at the organization that you're actually interviewing for. Understand what because guess what? Their short-term goals or long-term goals or their strategic roadmap is somewhere on their website. You can be able to kind of figure those things out. Then go back to the job at hand. Google what the job description for this particular position should be, and then do a comparative analysis. So when you have the opportunity to have those conversations, you're having them think too, because a lot of times the recruiter is not clear.
So that is basically the problem. When it comes to interview, you are interacting with a human, and you can like perform well and pass to the next stage. But what if you are applying to the jobs and you are getting automated rejection emails? No matter what you do, no matter how many projects you have done, you are getting these messages. Unfortunately, we are not moving forward with you. So, how to land a job? Not a job, but an interview with what is going on in the industry and with all these job descriptions, they don't know what they want.
Yeah. A lot of times, if you're automatically getting all these rejections, you have to be able to start to think about, let me reevaluate my resume as well, right? So sometimes people have systems where they're only picking out keywords. Not every resume is not going to work for every position. So you have to be keen and adapt your actual resume to that specific job. Think about the keyword fillers. But I'm gonna tell people, don't don't fluff your resume up. If you don't have the skill set, don't lie and say you do, because it could be that one opportunity where now they're calling you and you can't even step up to the fold because it's not your keen skill yet. You put it on your resume. I've seen that happen a lot, right? But the things that you can do, the same resume I fill out for a principal engineer would never be the same one I fill out to be a VP. The one I fill out to be a CIO would never be the one I fill out to be a VP. Like, so just having different, you may have, 100 different resumes applying to 100 different jobs, but it's really on you and the way you actually, I think a lot of people, they just think their resume can go to any job description, and that's not true.
Okay, if you are looking at a resume that is for red team pen testing role, what is the something that you would look into that resume for to get that person to invite for the interview? What is one thing that you would look?
The requirements in which I ask for. So I actually look at, I create my own JDs and then run it through HR versus allowing HR to create my job descriptions. I'm very hands on in that process to be able to make sure I'm getting what I'm asking for. Um, and then I have a comparative analysis matrix. So I make sure they have at least four of the skills in which I ask for. I look at their job history. If a person is a hopper that's jumping from job to job, that's an early red flag, right? So it's saying something about the individual. And then I look at certifications and education of the individual. So like you have some people, I think they're just as comparable. I don't think but I believe some positions need a degree, in my opinion, because learning it quick is not the key. Like the certification, some of these certifications, you can go to a bank and get all the answers and get them right. And I done seen people with a million certifications and can't do the work.
Okay, that is actually good if you write your own job descriptions because you know the industry and you know what you want that individual who you will be hiring to do the job, what he will be doing. So
Yeah.
about that, you said the degree. Do you specially look for the tech industry degree like a computer science, IT, something like that? Or what do you see in terms of degree?
No, I think so. For me, when a person does a long-term degree, it actually shows a level of commitment for me, right? So let's say I got an individual, I'm looking at his work history, and to me, it may look unstable because he's jumping from job to job to job. But then you may go look at their educational history and you're like, this person went all the way up to a doctoral degree. Those type of things make me curious. I may ask just to interview the person to be able to get a keen understanding, and I'm able to ask the questions that I'm trying to understand looking at the resume versus just canceling the person out. I do believe there is power in people having variations in backgrounds. I don't think you just need your degree to solely be in technology, and you're talking to a person that's working on a sixth degree. I'm getting my sixth degree in policy and law with a minor in cyber, and that's only because I write a lot of policy and procedure, and I thought it just meant something for me to understand the legality component. I did get accepted to law school, it just wasn't a good ROI for me, so I didn't do it.
Okay, if you have to start over in this industry at this time,
Yeah.
without any work experience or without any prior job, what would you do differently as compared to other candidates to stand out and break into the field?
The same thing I did when I started. Like, I make things happen. So when I was a sophomore in college, um, first of all, I did my internship my freshman year. Don't do this. I lied on my application. I was ready for an internship. I already knew that I was, uh, I guess you would say ahead of the pack. In my head, I was ahead of the pack, right? And that was the first year that WGN had actually took 2 interns. It was me between me and a kid from DePaul, and I never forget. He turned around and was like, "What school you go to?" And I'm looking at him like, "You the idiot. You're a junior. I'm a freshman, right? Right." So I got my internship my freshman year. By the time I was a sophomore, I worked on a project with the city of Chicago. We created a kiosk where you can do your right. It's a kiosk in every city of Chicago building right now to this day. You can pay for your light bills and your tickets. I was the only girl on that project. By the time I was a junior in college, I was the assistant chief engineer at 107.9 FM, which is the #1 Spanish radio station in Chicago. And I just kept going up from there. But the truth of the matter is, like, I made my jobs happen for myself. I didn't wait for somebody to tell me I was good enough. I told myself I was good enough.
Okay, that is actually very important. You repeated that previously as well. So that is the point to focus that if you believe in yourself, then that is the only case when the world will believe in yourself. And if you think you are good enough, then the rest of the people will be thinking that you're good enough. So if
Yeah.
you have to summarize your whole journey in the industry in one sentence, then how would you do it?
I feel like technology is bigger than me. I didn't choose technology. I feel like technology chose me. So I would just say purposeful. And the truth of the matter is, I do everything with intention. If it has no intention to it, I'm not doing it.
Okay, one advice that would you would give to anyone who is starting to take interest in this field or starting to looking for jobs.
First, you have to know, don't chase the money, right? You have to be able to do what you love, and I think that's the wrong thing. Some people are just getting in technology for the wrong reasons. They don't even care about it, but the one thing that you can never learn in school or through certifications is passion. Where you have passion for something, everything else follows. So make sure you're doing this for the right reasons, and it will always love you back, and it'll be fruitful in the end. But if you come in with the wrong idea and you're only doing this to be able to kind of pad your pockets, you've already barked up the wrong tree, and it can be harder for you can get into because now you have to gum up passion that doesn't exist. You can see yourself making all the money in the world and you're miserable because now you're in a field that you don't desire to be in.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Terry, and all the talk that was actually so thoughtful and will be so helpful for anyone if someone's starting out. And that's all from my side. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
taking the time to do
Where
this.
are you from? Where are you from?
I'm from Pakistan.
Okay, 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 okay. I was just in Egypt for 3 weeks. So
Yeah,
like,
I
so
saw
I'm
the
like,
LinkedIn
yes,
post.
I love it. So okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, you enjoy. Thank you for thinking of me, and thanks for including me in your series. Okay.
Yeah, sure, why not?